Welcome to Women in Sports, a Georgetown University podcast. I'm Emily Judd.
Selena Alexander.
This is Alvin Katler.
In today's episode, we cover all bases on what it's like to be a woman working alongside men in athletic programs. Here's the game plan. We'll hear from 3 women. They are former athletes across the board. Meg Genesello formerly played basketball at Bucknell University.
But I think the men are way overpaid.
Grace Leak is a former tennis pro, and Lauren Hagans is a former basketball player for the University of Virginia.
I won one of those tournaments, and I won $1,000. And the guys' side in that same tournament, the winner won, I think, $8,000.
I'm absolutely a bossy person. I've always prided myself on being a leader.
Now, these women give back by coaching current players. Let's get the ball rolling. First up, Meg Genesello with the discrimination she faced playing college basketball in the 1980s. Have you ever thought about the expression, "you play like a girl"? It's a common saying in American culture, typically used as an insult. It points out when someone's sports ability is less aggressive, and it creates the assumption that men are better at and more serious about sports.
When you say play like a girl, it's sort of a soft thing, right? Like things don't matter.
That's Meg Genesello. In the 1980s, she played Division I basketball for Bucknell University. To her, the expression brings back memories of the discrimination she experienced as a female basketball player. The poor treatment of the women's basketball team compared to the men's team at the college was obvious.
There were different gyms. The girls always had, the worst times of the gym. So, the prime time for practice would always go to the men.
Meg and her teammates were forced to work around the male players' schedules. That wasn't limited to practice, but the times of the games too. If the men and women's teams both had games on the same night, an event known as a doubleheader, the women were consistently assigned the earlier afternoon time slot.
We had doubleheaders. The women always played before the men. So this is also a bone of contention even in high school sports now, because the girls need to have the prime time to play just like the boys do. But we always played before the boys.
She also remembers small prejudices, little things that bothered her, like the uniforms.
They were men's cut. They never fit us properly because they were made for men. Nowadays, the uniforms, they will make, they tailor uniforms for women's bodies. We have hips.
Women's sports have come a long way from Meg's period as a college basketball player. Arguably, what drove the progress was the federal law known as Title IX. It prohibits gender discrimination in schools, including their athletic programs. But Meg also credits the skill of professional women players for the progress.
I think, to be honest with you, because the talent of women are a little bit better now, we have outstanding women athletes now who are marketable.
These spectacular athletes pull in endorsements and campaigns, things that gain respect and attention in the field. But the money coming in for the women is hardly comparable to their male counterparts.
Mm-hmm. I think the women should get more, yes, but I think the men are way overpaid.
The talent isn't the only one affected monetarily. The salaries of the coaches are as well. Coaching men's sports always pays more than coaching women. This is something Meg is familiar with. For the past 12 years, she has coached high school women's basketball. She is the only female coach in the state of Arizona to have won a state title in high school women's basketball. But it hasn't been easy. Though progress has been made since she's played on the court, there's still discrimination, and she fights against it.
We never always had an announcer. The boys always had an announcer for the game. And then you had to fight to always have an announcer. You know what I mean? So we ended up saying in the high school, look, if the boys get this, the girls need to get this, especially if the school district's paid for them.
She tries not to take it personally, but describes another incident where it felt personal and solely based on gender.
I had one guy on my coaching staff who was an assistant coach. Mm-hmm. And before the game, all standing around, they all thought he was the head coach.
Meg is working towards the day when our culture thinks of the expression, "you play like a girl," as a compliment, not a dig. For her, it all starts with her time as a college athlete. She always remembers how she felt during her time as a player.
I want to be a basketball player. I don't want to be a female basketball player. I don't want to be a male basketball player. I want to be a basketball player.
This is Emily Judd for the Georgetown University podcast, Women in Sports.
After Emily, Elvin is here with Grace Leak, who's a former professional tennis player and a current tennis coach, and she says that her gender has affected her career both negatively and positively in the 18 years that she has been playing.
Tennis is dominated by male coaches, so there's a lot of females that go to men for instruction. I've seen a lot of men use their role and their position to kind of dominate women and have this power over them and control them.
When she was playing as a teen, she says that she was treated differently by her coaches compared to male athletes.
When I was a minor, I was 15, 16 years old, playing with male coaches. Probably an example of that, the male dominance would have just been a ton of yelling on the court. I would leave the court in tears constantly.
When we talk about sports, we tend to think of attributes like power, muscles, physical endurance, sweating, and strength. As a result, the image you have in your mind may be masculine. Consequently, people tend to watch what they have in their mind when they happen to start watching sports events.
In general, a stereotype of, if you want to see the best, you want to go see the men play. So I think there's already a preconceived stereotype before people would even make that decision. Do I want to go watch a women's professional event or a men's professional event?
As a result of lower attendance at female athletic events, in addition to the other factors, the pay for female athletes is much less than what the male athletes make. The top paid male tennis player of 2014, Roger Federer, made about $30 million more, including their endorsements, in comparison to top-paid female tennis player Maria Sharapova, who made about $25 million in 2014.
I do think that the female athletes need to be, I think it needs to be more equal. I think they need to be paid higher. $22 million is still a lot of money.
In tennis, there are two ways of making money. One is the money you make on the court playing tennis.
The prize money, I won one of those tournaments and I won $1,000. And the guys' side in that same tournament, the winner won, I think, $8,000. So, yeah, that was a little bit frustrating.
The second way is endorsements, which is getting paid by the sponsors for what you wear or what equipments you use, as well as the additional income that is not directly related to your game.
I think that for the higher paid athletes, they're probably just doing that to use the success they've gotten to put their hands in different things. But for lower paid athletes, I would think that they're just doing that to try to make ends meet.
Despite all of this, can being female ever benefit an athlete in the sport? Grace says it doesn't on the field, but it does outside with the endorsements.
That the biggest example of a woman using her gender to her benefit in the sport, it shows up less in the actual playing of the sport. Like, it doesn't really show up on the court because it's woman against woman, but it shows up outside of the court.
For Georgetown News Podcast, Women in Sports, this is Alvin Katmer.
Like the two women we've already heard from, Lauren Hagens' life has essentially revolved around sports, but in more ways than one.
I came to UVA in 1996 as a scholarship athlete. I played on the women's basketball team from 1996 to 2000. I was one of the captains of the basketball team.
She's also been a director of basketball operations at UVA, the youngest in the country at the time, and coached a high school boys basketball team. And trust me, those are just a few of the positions on her resume, which now mainly reads,
I'm a wife, I'm a mother of two boys, and I would say mentor.
It's a busy life, but Lauren will tell you she was born to juggle a lot.
I'm absolutely a bossy person. I've always prided myself on being a leader. Being in a position to try to put some things in place has always been a kind of a role I've had naturally.
It's because of her strong will that she says all of those stereotypes that athletics aren't a woman's field have never bothered her, and that's why she's never strayed from it, no matter what barriers lie between her and her students.
I'm a strong personality, so I think sometimes kids, especially boys, just don't know what to make of me. I've worked with a lot of students of color, so that's the other thing when you're combining that I'm white and that I'm a woman. I think they're so puzzled by the whole thing.
But that doesn't stop her from doing what she knows she was born to do and using sports to do it.
I just think it's such a way to kind of reach people, and I think sports is a hook to engage people for change too.
Lauren and her husband Marcus, also a former UVA athlete, are back at their alma mater where he coaches the wide receivers for the school's football team, and she finds motivation in the work that he does with the boys both on and off the field. And one person that's thankful for it is UVA wide receiver Kanan Severin, who Lauren mentors every week. They cover everything from his academic development to his athletic preparation.
Did you already completely apply for the internship program?
No, not yet.
When is the deadline for that?
The guys that Lauren mentors call their time with her boot camp. But Severin says he's been meeting with her for about 1.5 years now and has no plans of stopping anytime soon.
I kind of wish that people could realize the change I make has a lot to do with Lauren, just the way I've grown as a man.
And there's a reason he appreciates that his mentor just so happens to be a woman.
I lost my mom when I was 9 years old, so it's kind of, she's the one woman I can talk to all the time about any subject, any situation.
Spend 5 minutes with Lauren and two things quickly become very clear. She's never been intimidated by being a woman navigating through this male-dominated field, and the sharing of her wisdom and passion comes purely from her heart.
I feel like helping and mentoring people is part of my purpose.
No matter how rough the sport is. For Georgetown University, Selena Alexander.
We've heard from 3 women describing the challenges and benefits of being a woman in sports. Each took the ball into their own court and didn't let their gender stop them from joining a field dominated by men. Thanks for listening to Women in Sports, a Georgetown University podcast.